Wiggs, when you saw this big gap on the schedule, did you think there was something wrong or there's some holiday or something?
Yes, no, I saw the gap recently, like 2 days ago, and I was like, "There's no way." Like we definitely have a game on Friday, but it's a good break, good little couple of days to kind of recuperate, gather ourselves, and get ready for the road stretch coming up.
Yeah, I mean, you had 16 games in 28 days to start the season. What did you do anything yesterday? Did you leave your couch? Did you?
A lot of rest, a lot of rest. Just kind of took some me time and kicked it with the dogs, but good time to kind of just find common ground and get comfortable. So.
Aaron,
I just wondered, we're about 15 games in, so not a crazy sample, but an okay sample. I know you guys are missing a bunch of people. So how do you evaluate your offense through a healthy lens so far, knowing the people you've missed?
Um, I mean, obviously we haven't been 100% from the beginning of the season to now, but with the pieces we have, I think you still look at the potential side of a healthy roster completely. I think there's a lot of flashes that we've kind of seen in a lot of different lineups and stuff, um, but I think we still have a lot of positive things that have come from the first 15, 16 games so far. So I think we're in a good standing point, and with what we've seen and what we have, I think we have we have the right pieces to make things work.
Positive things like what?
Um, just certain flashes of our ball movement, our togetherness when we're clicking on the same page. Um, when we do kind of get to the things that we've game planned for in a number of games, we've seen a lot of positive results in those things. So I think that's a great thing to kind of have seen so far in the season.
Yeah, after playing, without a center for almost 2 weeks, just what was your reaction when Hart came back?
Um, I mean, the excitement behind it was one of a kind, obviously. Hearing the crowd kind of roar when he subbed in, and then his like immediate impact was kind of just like very noticeable. I think he snagged a rebound over. I think J-Dub was in there, our temporary center for the last 2 weeks, and he just like snagged a board over him and like Robert Williams, and then he had like a couple offensive rebounds immediately, and I mean he's a great playmaker for his size as well. So really really big piece, great connector, and we're happy to have him back.
Marcus talked about you guys' perimeter defense with the smaller lineups. Um, talked about how you guys are doing a good job of pushing guys away from the rim. What have you liked about you guys in that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of guys have done a good job just with their physicality, kind of trying to disrupt other teams' initial, offensive looks and the things they may want to get to. Kind of taking away their first and second options, and that's been a thing that's kind of worked for us early in the season so far.
Aaron, we've seen a lot when teams try to make post entry passes. It seems like they get broken up a lot against you guys. Is that something that you guys focus on or work on? What makes you all so successful there?
Yeah, I mean, especially recently with the lack of kind of size down there, being able to kind of be disruptive when they're looking to pass the ball and on the entry pass, kind of putting pressure on the guy passing the ball and looking on the entry pass, and then just not allowing guys to kind of seal us in the post, trying to fight that, go for steals, being physical down there, and just trying to prevent that as much as possible. And guys have done a pretty good job of it.
And you mentioned J Dub at the temporary five. Just what did you see from him over that stretch when he was kind of having to handle those matchups and handle that role?
I just think you saw some of his ability to kind of play anywhere on the court. I think he became a little bit more physical, a little bit more versatile. He was able to kind of exploit matchups, with bigs guarding him sometimes, or if they were guarding me and I set a screen and they're switching on to him. So just kind of showed, his versatility, his ability to play, his willingness to do what's necessary for our team. So a great player, obviously can play any position on the court, and he did a good job of it.
Mark kind of talked about in training camp about how he wants to see you kind of increase your volume. You've been able to kind of do that while maintaining decent efficiency. Like, what's that journey kind of been like the first couple weeks of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta credit that just to kind of continue to kind of find good shots within the offense, even still. Trying to raise that volume, but at the same time, we've got a number of guys who draw so much attention on the court. I'm still able to kind of find creases within our offense and open good shots, and kind of credit that to my teammates' willingness to kind of make those passes and find me when I'm open, and at the same time just continuing to kind of make sure that even though you're trying to raise the volume, you want to make sure you're finding good ones still. So you don't want to shoot wild shots.
I don't know if you consider yourself a guard, but there's a stat I saw this morning that said, among teams that have played guards in the dunker spot, this team has 6 of the top 10 in the league, and you're number 2 in the league. When you hear that, what do you think?
Uh, I don't know what to think. That's a great stat, but I'm just finding spaces, finding creases. We try to exploit some of those gaps in game and create easy buckets. So I don't mind hanging in the dunker spot. I guess that's all I have for it.
What's it been like to play with Caruso defensively?
He's a guy that you can kind of learn from in a number of ways on the defensive end. His physicality, I don't know, he's kind of all over the court at once. Whether he's on the ball, off the ball, he's all over the place. Just his energy on that end and his leadership on that end is something that I think a lot of guys have, taken note of and tried to kind of just learn from. So he's been huge for us early on, and guys are continuing to just, watch and learn from him as well. So.
Coach, with 4 days in between games, just how do you attack this time to kind of get the most out of it?
We were off yesterday. We were light today, and we'll have a punchier practice tomorrow. But a lot of it's just trying to get some gas back in the tank. The guys have done a great job of competing, and it's taken a lot of physical energy with the schedule and with our circumstances. So trying to get some, like I said, some rest, recovery, and then we'll get some targeted practice tomorrow.
Mark, the play by Hartenstein defensively a couple nights ago when the lob goes over the top, he doesn't just try to go, attack the ball on the way up. He waits for it to come down and then get at me. Have you seen guys make that play a lot? Is that an instinctual thing, or is that something that guys get taught in that position?
Well, if he's been taught it, it hasn't been by us. He's been here for like 2 months and he was hurt. So I'm more instinctive. I think he's just got an instinct to protect the rim, stick his nose in plays. He's one of the best rim protectors in the league, not necessarily with the shot blocking numbers of guys like Chet or the highest guys, but rim deterrence, rim field goal percentage, he's excellent. And it's for reasons like that. He's tall, he's big, he's physical, and he's in the plays.
Mark, I am curious, when you talk about practice being lighter, practice being punchier, like what are the differences in those practices?
We watched film for half hour today and then spent about 10 minutes on the court as a team, and then the guys did a lot of individual work today. That's a lighter day, and then tomorrow will be more, 5 guys on the court, longer practice, more intensity, stuff like that.
And I won't ask you to speculate on officials' jobs, but you obviously talked a lot about free throw rate. Looking at your guys' numbers and their frequency of getting to the rim, like who would you point out that you think maybe could be getting more free throws besides Shea?
The guys driving and attacking the paint on a play. I thought Caruso had one in transition the other night. He got hit on the arm on. Dub is obviously in the paint quite a bit, and we're leading the league in drives as a team, and that's not just Shea. Shea leads the league in drives individually, but the team's in there as well. And we've, in practice tomorrow and in film today, we're trying to identify through 16 games some of the things we need to improve on and doing some targeted work on that, and that's one of those things. So, we're not just outsourcing all the responsibility onto the officials. We're looking internally at how we can improve, and we're hoping that the whistle comes around as we address some of those things.
With the low free throw rate, it'd be easy for you guys to kind of settle for a lot more threes instead of driving, getting to your head a little bit. But you're still leading the league in drives. Is it mostly them that are staying on it, or is it you guys reminding them to continue with it no matter if they get a call or not?
The players?
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to be a paint attack team, and that doesn't necessarily mean that all your shots are going to come in the paint. Some of the threes are paint created, and those are good shots. You've got to take what the defense gives you. We want to uptick the threes, but not at the expense of, rim attacks. If defenses sell out in the paint, which they tend to do against us because of our drive frequency, then if the threes are open, we want to shoot them. And we've gotten really good shot quality on our threes the last, really the whole season. So I think our blend overall has been pretty good. There's certainly some where, we might have forced, but generally we've done a good job there.
Just kind of general speaking, do you believe there's a correlation between drives to the basket and free throws?
Yeah, I think 80% I'm probably not up to date on that number, but ballpark 80% of fouls are called in the paint, and so the more you're in the paint, the higher you have an exposure to those foul calls, and so generally there's a correlation between those things.
You mentioned a couple of times about what you guys can do better to draw fouls. Like, what are some examples of technique in that?
Well, some of it's just like stronger with the ball. I mean, there are some plays where we're getting stripped, like clean. And when you're that close to the basket and you have a chance to get the ball up on the rim, with the efficiency of those shots, you don't want to get stripped. You want to give yourself a chance to finish that play or even to offensive rebound. Even like a guy like Hartenstein being back, he cleans up a lot of the mess around the basket. So you want to get it up on the rim. So definitely that, stronger in our gathers. That's the main thing. It's like getting two hands on the ball, going up strong, putting it on the rim, putting the officials in a position where they have to make a call on those things. And we're addressing that right now. That's one of the things that we're looking at, among other things. I mean, with practice for 4 days isn't about drawing more fouls. There's a lot of things we can improve on, but that's certainly something. If we could get to the line more, it's going to improve our offense.
It seemed like you guys have had guys in the dunker spot, the short corner, a little bit more this year. Is that a revelation you guys came to in the offseason, or how did you come to that revelation in the offseason?
I'd push back. I'd say we'd probably been there the last 2 years. Last year we were there quite a bit. Kaysen, Wiggins, Dort, Caruso's excellent at it. We probably are going to be there more with the bigs this year because of Hartenstein's ability to offensive rebound from that spot and catch drop-offs. Chet has worked his way down there as he's gotten switched more. So we've been down there more with the fives. You haven't seen it yet because those guys have been injured. But we've always had the guards down there. That's always been a part of our offense, that and the cutting.
I know you mentioned the cutting was something that you guys added because you had Shea and you didn't want guys to just stand around. What was it for the adding guys to the short corner that made you feel like you had to add that?
The shooting skill of the fives. It allows you to invert the floor a little bit when you've got, dating back to Horford, Muscala, Robinson, Earl, Polk. These are perimeter-oriented players, and then obviously Chet, Jay Will. Those guys, they can all shoot threes, and so you can put them on the perimeter and invert the defense a little bit. And if you're going to do that, then you don't want to crowd the perimeter. You end up having more room in the paint. That's where you get the guard-to-guard rolls. That's where you get the guard and the dunker. That's where you get cutting opportunities. But it's all downstream from the fives being able to stretch the floor.